So I've been talking to a lot of folks about the affordability of owning a condo in Panama City Beach. I got this message the other day.
Eric, Chud Meef's been watching your YouTube for a little while now. Me personally, I've been coming to PCB since 2003 when I shattered my dang tailbone riding a boogie board down the dang staircase. I love it so much there, but I'll tell you what, I've been watching these YouTube and TikTok videos, and it's like you gotta be a dang tycoon nowadays to afford one of these condos. Now, riddle me this. If I buy a one bedroom condo like Laketown Wharf, rent it out during the high season, will I make a little bit of money or am I just going to get fleeced by those dang HOAs?
Thanks for reaching out, Chud. Sorry to hear about your tailbone in '03, but we can definitely talk a little bit about Panama City Beach, and I think Laketown is a good property to look at from a value perspective. So what we're going to use for our analysis today is a Laketown Wharf one bedroom with a lake view. This is a great value point on the beach. It's a pretty big unit. The building has a lot of amenities to offer, so it rents well, but it's a pretty attractive purchase price. So definitely worth analyzing in the context of affordability on the beach right now. There's a lot of active listings at Laketown right now. Just knowing the building a little bit, I'm able to separate the one bedroom lake views pretty easily. And I'm going to show some active listings here. And what I'm noticing is a range from 250 to 270. There are some higher priced ones, but this seems to be the meat and potatoes lower rung of sellers definitely wanting to be competitive with selling. And there's some really nice ones for 250. I decided to take the middle of the road and use 260 in my analysis. Okay, now we are building the cost to own. And one of the major items in that cost to own is obviously going to be your mortgage. So condo mortgages, as you may have watched in my other videos, they're a little bit different, mainly given that the government doesn't subsidize any condo loans. They're more of an investor product. So the best product that I've found at Laketown Wharf requires 15% down and is a 5-year ARM, meaning adjustable rate mortgage. It's locked in at a rate of 7% for 5 years. I don't mind this at this point because I feel there may be lower interest rates in the future. So an ARM right now doesn't scare me as much as it would have in 2020. So the 7% ARM for 15% down is really not a bad product. We'll talk about if putting the minimum down payment is a good idea towards the end of this video. Crunching the $260,000 purchase price at a 7% interest rate amortized for 30 years gives you a principal and interest payment on the mortgage of $1,383.83. So we have the mortgage component covered. All right, so we can get 2024 property tax from MLS. It's public record and values haven't really increased much. So 2024 is pretty much going to be the same for 2025. And then I have recently got insurance quotes for one bedroom. So the property tax is $302 a month and the homeowner insurance is $117 a month. So we add that into the equation. So we're putting in 0 PMI into this. Every portfolio is a little different. Some of them don't require PMI. And finally, the HOA dues for one bedroom at Laketown Wharf are $830 a month. This does cover water, trash, sewer, internet, cable TV. Obviously, they have a lot of amenities, 5 pools, a lot of club area, and they do have a pretty robust management and also a master insurance policy that covers the building, just to name a few of the things that $830 covers. But you do have to cover the insurance for the interior, which I reference above, but $830 a month. So when we add that all together, it comes out to $2,633 a month. And then I'm an owner at Laketown. On average, the power's about $150 a month, and that's the only utility that you'll pay for. And that's about $150 a month. So add that to the equation. $2,783 per month is your cost to own at Laketown Wharf. Okay, now we're going to talk about the rental income for Laketown Wharf one bedroom Lakeview. So the difference between high season and low season is quite different. Cash flow is not even for a seasonal vacation rental. in Panama City Beach. It's pretty much like a bell curve where you can expect to have double the rent in June and July versus shoulder seasons like March and August. So just keep that in mind that it's an uneven cash flow, and make sure you save that money that you get in the summertime. Now, moving on, the way that I quote, and most agents will quote, what a property can produce in a given year is through gross rents. You have to be careful because some self-managing owners may lump in clean fees and taxes and give you a gross receipts for that number, which overstates the production of the unit. I always try to be honest and give the rental income generated for the entire year. Because of the variance in the monthly spread, the year is the best way to kind of get a feel for uh, the rental overall, the bigger picture, and not on a month by month basis. So every rental year is a little bit different. In 2025, vacationers are a little bit tighter. I think consumer debt's a little higher and people are feeling the pinch. There's a lot of people waiting until last minute to capitalize on those last minute discounts. So it's a little bit more of a trickier year. So keep that in mind when you purchase. You definitely want a turnkey, good looking Airbnb quality unit because there's competition out there. Now, every unit's rental production is going to vary a little bit depending on whether the owner uses it, how it's decorated, how it's presented from a marketing standpoint, and the reviews that it gets. So at Laketown Wharf, I personally have seen one bedrooms on the lake do over 35,000 just in actual, and this is for 2024 recent data. I also ran the property in B&B Calc, a one bedroom on the lake, and it gave me a gross rental figure of 40,000. It does include the cleaning fees in the analysis, kind of a gross receipts number. I'm able to back that out and get a $35,000 gross income number for a Lakeview unit. Obviously, that can be more or a little bit less, depending on some specific variables. So the last thing, and this probably goes in with the cost to own, but it's really tied to the rental, is if you're going to be using a rental manager or not. So rental managers' cost varies from 20 to 18% off the gross revenue. So using the high side of 20%, that's about $7,000 on $35,000 of revenue. So that's $7,000. Now, going back, a real quick and simple way to determine if a property is going to actually generate you cash or be losing a little bit of money, if we take $7,000 minus 35K, that's $28,000. That's what we're left with. Now, when we ran our cost to own, we know that our cost is $33,390 something dollars. So we know in that equation that we're short if you're going to have a property manager running your property in this scenario. I used Laketown Wharf one bedroom Lakeview for a reason in this analysis because it's one of the most affordable, and yet we still don't break even with minimal amount down and paying for a property manager. So what I'm trying to tell you, audience, is that no matter what property you choose, with minimal down payment and having a property manager, it's going to be extremely difficult to cash flow. Now, the two things that you can focus on to not make it a negative cash flow situation, you can A, put down more money or buy it cash, even better, then it becomes a cash flowing asset. And then B, you can manage the property yourself, not pay the 20 to 18%, and then also inherit some great tax benefits for being a materially participating operator in real estate, and any losses and depreciation can be applied to W-2 income. This is huge, and I know that's a mouthful to wrap your head around. A lot of people I deal with, I would say the majority, probably over 90% of people don't want anything to do with managing their short-term rental out of state. There are some huge benefits to self-management that you should consider if you're wanting to avoid negative cash flow. So why would you even consider buying a condo in Panama City Beach if it's going to negative cash flow? And if you don't want anything to do with managing the property and you don't really want to come out of pocket much more than 15%, why would you even want to purchase here? So there are actually a few different reasons why you'd want to own a negative cash flow condo in Panama City Beach. And number one would be pretty simple, the lifestyle. A lot of folks I deal with have kids that are getting older and they want a meeting place on the beach where everyone comes together. Vacationing at the beach can be a priceless opportunity to make memories, to enjoy the beautiful white sands, emerald green water, and just have a good time with your friends and family. And that's what I believe life is all about. So if you're already coming to the beach a couple times a year and you're spending, $4,000 to $5,000 on your vacation, it kind of makes sense to actually own where you like coming and investing in a long-term appreciating asset. I can't, determine when the market's going to appreciate and depreciate, but right now we're in a hard buyer's market, so pretty good opportunity to purchase. You have a really nice selection of all kinds of units on the beach to choose from. In COVID timeframe, a lot of the good units that it was few and far between. A lot of more opportunity now. And you still get tax benefits with a negative cash flowing asset. So as you are kind of collecting losses, it stays with the property. And this is if you're not materially participating, you have a property manager. So you don't get to write it off against your W-2, but depending on how much losses you incur at the point of sale, you could possibly do that, and it will also offset any capital gains at the point of sale. So holding a negative cash flow profile on an appreciating asset can definitely be beneficial, especially if you are anticipating making some decent money in at the point of sale, which everyone should if they hold long enough. So my final thought on this: in 2020 we had an accelerated rental market and cheap prices and very bare minimum interest rates. So that created a unique environment, the optics that you could cash flow considerably on owning condos and Airbnbs. In the past, that never really wasn't the case. It was always a lifestyle asset where you could pretty much cover the cost, or at least the majority of ownership, through rental participation in the local market here. And that's the case again. We kind of reverted to the era of lifestyle asset, hybrid asset, where you get to use the property and you also get to cover most of the costs through rental. We did the numbers here, and I want to pull this up because this is the profitability in all the different scenarios. And here's if you put the minimum down payment and have a 18% rental manager. So starting with the worst position, finance with 15% down and an 18% property manager, you're going to lose at minimum about $5,400 a year. And on your 15% that you put down, that's going to be nearly a 14% negative return on your cash. So just looking at the loss versus the cash that you put down. So not the best position, but not, as I mentioned earlier, there's a reason you could do that. The next best position is being financed with 15% down and managing the property yourself. You'll have a very modest cash flow of about $1,600, which is a 4% return on that down payment. But with maintenance and things, that's kind of a wash. But being self-managed definitely can take you out of negative cash flow territory. And then the next best position, and they say cash is king for a reason, is a cash purchase with a rental manager like myself. And that gives you an annual cash flow of nearly 12K, 4.5 cash on cash return. And then finally, the trump card, a cash purchase and self-managed, gives you a cash flow of about 18K a year, 7% return on your money. So I hope that breaks down the positions and you understand the varying ways that you can be into a property investment like this and what types of returns that you can expect. Now, Chud, I hope I answered your question. Hey, Chud, are you still with me, big guy? Did I answer all your questions?
Okay. You broke that down just like I like my Waffle House hash browns, smothered and covered all the way, baby. I could see it now. Meef's on the reef. 5-star reviews, Airbnb. Might even have a little bit left over for that margarita machine. I appreciate it, muchacho. Expect a call from me this winter. Me and you, we're going out. Beers on you.
This is Eric Leitten, your favorite real estate agent on the Emerald Coast. More than part-time gopher these days at What's Up Beach Vacation Rentals. We definitely help you find that perfect property that you see yourself at the beach enjoying and help you manage it and get good rentals. We're here for you for the long run. If you have any questions, all my contact information is in the description below. It'll also be on the card at the end of this video. If you like this video and want to see more content, please smash that like button and subscribe to my channel. It would mean a lot to me. I'm definitely a small voice amongst all these big YouTubers, but your support means everything. Have an awesome day.